And this is the story that has me fired up first tonight. Once again, the American people, I guess you could say, are way ahead of the Congress when it comes to an issue. When it comes to shared sacrifice, there is no doubt that the American people are way ahead of the Congress. Republicans have been lying about tax cuts for years. But the new breed of conservatives, well, they have taken it to another level.
Congress doesn't have a revenue problem, it has a spending problem.
We don't have a revenue or a tax problem in Washington. They're already high enough. We have a spending problem.
We don't have a revenue problem. We have a spending problem.
Okay, you hear the Republican leadership there. Boehner, Cantor, and Ryan, you know what? They are completely wrong. Let's go to Big Eddie's chart. We have charts every night. You know, what I've got to do is I've got to get a Republican to come up here and tell me these charts are wrong. Bill Clinton's first budget was the fiscal year 93-94. Now, pay attention here, folks. It's an easy one. Even I can follow it. The green line, well, that's federal revenue. And the red line, of course, is spending. So when Clinton got in office, holy smokes, look at that. We were just spending way too much money. And so what did they do in 94? They raised taxes. Why? Because they didn't have enough revenue and they wanted to balance the budget. So they raised taxes right here, and here comes the revenue. Here comes the revenue. There's the spending held in check by those tax and spend Democrats. And so look what happened. We have a cross right here in about 97, 98. All of a sudden, the revenue goes above the spending, and the spending stays below. Well, here comes President Bush. President Bush comes in here in the year 2000, and look at this. He says, you know what? We got too much money going into the Treasury. It's your money. Remember, they used to go on the campaign trail and say, that's your money. We want to give it back to you. So they get this right here. In 2000, here come the tax cuts. Here come the tax cuts right here. And what do we have? Right after 9/11 and right after the tax cuts, we have a dip in revenue. But look at this. The spending keeps going up because, you know, we had to fight them over there instead of fight them over here. And, of course, this stuff, the wars, that was off budget. In fact, we were told by the vice president, deficits don't matter. Remember that? Deficits didn't matter. That's what we were told by the last guys in charge. While the revenue went down, the spending continued to go up. And then, of course, here's the re-election. And, of course, we were told right here, well, if we don't re-elect this crowd, we're going to get hit again. So then we keep on going through the Bush years, and the revenue starts to come back a little bit, but the spending just keeps going. Where was Cantor? Where was Boehner? Where was Ryan when this spending was going through the roof? Well, the guys that they were genuflecting to said that deficits didn't matter. So here comes President Obama. President Obama comes in 2008. Here is the housing bubble. This is the housing bubble right here. Oh, man, we're selling homes like crazy, aren't we? We're doing all these quick mortgages and whatnot, and here comes the revenue, and then boom, there is the housing bust. And, of course, here we sit, President Obama. He comes in, and the revenue is dipping down because of what he inherited. And what's he do? He spends money to get out of it because every economist on both sides of the aisle said you got to spend money to get out of this problem. So now, if you look at this, we have the largest gap between money spent and revenue being brought into the Treasury. The largest gap we've had, well, my board's not big enough. Can you believe that? I actually could take you back another 20 years. This is the largest gap. But remember, the Republicans are telling us that we don't have a revenue problem. This is where the American people are way ahead of the Congress. The American people see this graph and they know exactly how to fix it, and that's raise taxes. President Obama is right in line. He has a plan to solve our revenue problem. It's called taxing the wealthy. This is how the president put it during a town hall meeting in Virginia earlier today.
We've got to tackle this challenge. And I believe the right way to do it is to live up to an old-fashioned principle of shared responsibility. That means everybody has to do their part. We've also got to end tax cuts for the wealthiest Americans. We are going to have to ask everybody to sacrifice, and if we're asking community colleges to sacrifice, if we're asking people who are going to see potentially fewer services in their neighborhoods to make a little sacrifice, then we can ask millionaires and billionaires to make a little sacrifice.
Oh, yes, we can. And guess what? The President of the United States has the American people on his side when it comes to the top 2% sharing in the sacrifice. A new McClatchy-Marist poll shows, this is the number you need to consume, folks, 64% of Americans support taxing people who make over $250,000 a year. And when you break it down by party, 83% of Democrats would like to see that happen because, you see, they go back to my chart and they see what happened when we raised taxes on the wealthy. We got things in order, you know. And then, of course, independents. Independents. You know, all those people that turned on the Democrats in the last election? Look at that. 63% of independents even want to raise the taxes. But look at this number. This is surprising. 43% of Republicans want to raise taxes on the top 2% in this country. Think about that. 43%. The last administration, when was the last time President Bush had an approval rating of 43%? Look at this. That's a high number. Americans are even more united when it comes to protecting Medicare and Medicaid, the big three. The same poll. Oh, is that right? Is that 80%? Son of a gun. The same poll shows that 80% of Americans are opposed to cutting Medicare and Medicaid. This, I don't know how much of a better number you can get. And look at this, 73% of Republicans. That's right, 73% of Republicans want their elected officials to leave Medicare and Medicaid alone. That means don't change anything. If you were to tell somebody that they won by 73% of the vote, would you call that a landslide? Even members of the Tea Party agree that 70% of the Tea Party are saying, nah, you know, we had fun the last election and we thought we were going to get our country back the way we were, you know, jargoning around the country. But, you know, when it comes to it, yeah, we better hang on to Medicare and Medicaid. Now, these numbers that I showed you are from April 10th to the 14th, not long ago, just a few days ago. These are staggering numbers. But what are we hearing out of Washington? We're hearing out of Washington that we've got huge problems and we've got to fix this, and these elected officials are just so much smarter than the American people. I say that's hogwash. And this term, the American people, this is what the Republicans love to tell the folks on the tube. Here it is.
Let's listen to the American people.
For too long, Mr. Speaker, the majority in this body and the President of the United States have refused to listen to the American people.
We are humbled by the trust that the American people have placed in us, and we recognize that with this trust comes the responsibility to listen, and listen we will.
Mr. Speaker, do you listen to 80%? Do you view the numbers here? Do you go back home and say you're a hell of a lot smarter than the Ohioans who don't want to touch Medicare and Medicaid? And then, of course, there's Mr. Ryan, who says that the way they're going to change it is turn it into a voucher system. Check it out.
We just don't think government rationing on Medicare is the answer. We think we should keep the promise to current seniors and people 10 years away from retiring, but then reform the system for the next generation so that it's safe and solvent for current seniors and for future generations, because Medicare is going bankrupt.
Oh, son of a gun. He is slick, isn't he? He's doing the reverse sell job on you. I think the American people have got it figured out. Ryan is out there telling the American people that they're going to reform. You know what reform is? Reform is a cut. Reform is a cut. Reform is code word for attack, and that's exactly what they want to do. They want to attack the programs that have been successful for Americans for decades, since 1965. Took the Democrats and the progressives and the liberals 22 years to get it passed, but they finally got it passed. It was a heavy lift, and it has saved lives, and it has saved money over years. Saved lives. Notice how I put lives before money? The Republicans now want to put money before lives. That's what they want to do. And a voucher program, a voucher is a cut. A voucher is cheaper care. But do the American people matter with these numbers like this? These are the only two numbers you need to consume tonight, folks. Raising taxes on those